Right, let's have a quick run through the grant application process. So we're in Salesforce and we're on the grant application tab, so we can see which grants applications have come in recently. We're going to start a new one. So this is what somebody applying for a grant would see. I'm going to create an organization name. We're going to call it Tech Startup, and it's going to be Tracy Powers, who is applying for a grant. We're going to keep this email address so we can track the emails as they come through. And I've pre-filled with this form so that it gets us going a bit more quickly. And they are applying for £12,000. They haven't had a grant before. We're not going to put any supporting documentation in, but we could do, but we're not. Click submit. And the information that we've just put into that form will now come through into Salesforce, and if we refresh the list, we've got Tracy's grant application that's come in down here. And the way that this works in Salesforce, it actually creates an account record called Tech Startup, and linked to that is a contact record for Tracy, and linked to Tracy's contact record is her grant application, number 41. As soon as the grant application has been submitted through the online form, Salesforce, in conjunction with an app called DrawLoop, sends an email acknowledgement to Tracy, and it also has created a PDF document which contains information that she submitted on the form. So it's effectively a receipt for her. If you go back into Salesforce, the next part of the process will be for this grant application to be assessed, and it's going to be assessed by somebody who doesn't have a Salesforce login. So the way that works, we go to this assessor field, we do a little lookup, and we're going to use an assessor. We're going to use Richard Judge. He's an assessor, so we pop him into that field and save the application. And normally, or the way that this could work, lots of different grant applications could be sent out for assessment all at the same time, so they could be mass ticked. In this case, we're just going to tick Tracy's grant application, click send grant applications out for assessment, and this uses a tool called DrawLoop, which generates an email along with again a PDF document, same PDF document, so that the grant assessor can actually see the details of the grant application. It takes a few seconds, so if we go back into our mailbox, here it is. So Richard has now received, dear Richard, he has received the grant application that's just been submitted by Tracy, and he can click through this link to an online assessment form, which just provides some details about the grant but doesn't show all of the information. He can give that a score. He might say it's fantastic application, recommend approving. And when he clicks submit, his assessment information gets stored back in Salesforce. If we go back into the grant, we will see that Richard has scored it a 9 and made some comments. Back to our process. So the grant admin person could look at that. They could put some notes in, and they just make some extra notes. Now they might decide, well, £12,000, we're only going to, they've asked for too much, we're going to award £10,000, and this is going to be for research and development. So they put that information in against the grant, which is now, by the way, changed status to under assessment. Save that, and then change the status to the next step along, which is it's been successful. Click save, and immediately that will send another email this time back to Tracy to say, thank you, you've been successful. We're going to be awarding you £10,000 for research and development. We've got some terms and conditions. If you can click this link, you can go through to another form. These forms are built with a tool called Form Assembly, which ties into Salesforce, as you can see, in a very integrated way. Tracy comes to the form, clicks yes, I agree, and submit. And guess what? If we look back in Salesforce now at the terms and conditions field, just do a refresh, we can see that Tracy's accepted the T's and C's. So, next step in our process would be for Tracy to be invited to come along to an onboarding event. So the way that would work, we click into Tracy's contact record, and we use campaigns in Salesforce to do this. So we've got a campaign already set up called Grant Onboarding Event, and we're going to add Tracy with the status of invited. As soon as we do that, automated process kicks in once again, and Tracy then receives an email inviting her to the Grant Onboarding event in April. So clicking on another link into another form, she can say if she's coming or can't come along. She will be. Submit. I'm back in Salesforce. I'm actually back on this record here, which is a record that shows that Tracy's been invited to that event. We've got a status of invited, and if we do a refresh now, we can see that Tracy is attending. Let's jump forward to April, and let's imagine that Tracy has now attended the event. So we can edit this record and say attended. Fantastic. Now that triggers yet another process. Back to our email box, and that will trigger another email in a second. Come on. There we go. Which asks Tracy if she can provide some feedback about the event. It's only 3 questions, it won't take very long. So she goes back into that link, back into another form. Now, so far it's been fantastic, but let's say that she's been unhappy with that event because the room was too hot and noisy. Let's say she gives it an unhappy feedback rating. She would still recommend it to others, but just saying really need to get a better room. We can submit that piece of feedback through the form. And if we go back into Salesforce again, and we go back into Tracy's contact record, we can see that there is some event satisfaction, or that event satisfaction record has been created. You can see straight away that she's unhappy. And the last step in this little demo is to show you a dashboard. So these dashboards, this chart here is showing event satisfaction from all different people who have been submitting those forms. We've had one person so far that said that they're unhappy, and if we do a refresh on this page, and this takes a few seconds, that chart is going to update, and it's going to tell us that actually now we've got 2 people that have submitted feedback to say that they've been a bit unhappy. There we go. And actually, if we go back into our mail, the last thing that is quite a useful feature, as soon as that feedback came in and it scored unhappy, Salesforce recognises that that's a low score, and it's immediately sent out an email. This would be to the grant administrator, for example, and they can see that Tracy has submitted that piece of feedback, and they can act on it straight away. So Salesforce is being very proactive here and alerting us to information that could be quite important. That's a quick whiz through some grant application process, which involves capturing data through forms, completely integrating that back into Salesforce, automating processes, generating documents, presenting up-to-date information in graphical format through charts, and keeping track through views. So the new grant application view now doesn't have Tracy's application on it because it's no longer status received, it's moved down the line. If we look at all grant applications, we can see everything, including there's Tracy, her application at the bottom there. So that's a quick whiz through a way of managing grant applications through Salesforce. Thank you.